Hmm. Okay, so where we have discussed about the history of disaster management. We have started, and so far we have discussed till the 2005 Act, Disaster Management Act, which was passed from Parliament, and on 26 December 2006. Okay, and Disaster Management Act 2005 created institution at central level, state level, and district level. Okay, and but remember one thing: the responsibility, okay, responsibility to tackle disaster is vested in state government. Okay, and the institutions which are created by the Disaster Management Act 2005 assist the states during the time of emergency as well as in the risk and crisis management both. Okay, and we have written about the institution we created, and now today I am going to discuss about the institutions which we have created at national level, state level, and district level. Okay, so the we have written the name of the institutions. Okay, at central level we have written. Okay, so these are, so whatever we will write, these all are simply factual information. You all have to keep in mind. There is no any conceptual thing. Okay, so disaster management division. Okay, so write down disaster management division. Okay, the first institution which I am going to discuss under the national level institution, the first is disaster management division, and this division is under Ministry of Home Affairs. Ministry of Home Affairs. This division is under Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay. Now, next point. It is responsible for response, relief, and preparedness. Response, relief, and preparedness for natural calamities and man-made disaster, except drought and epidemics. Okay, drought and epidemics. Okay, now one thing is important. Okay, drought and epidemics. Okay, so drought and epidemics both are managed by different organization. I will dictate. Second is National Executive Committee. National Executive Council, not committee, council. Okay, council. Okay, now this council act as the coordinating and monitoring body coordinating and monitoring body for disaster management. Okay, next point. This council is chaired by Union Home Secretary. This is important. Union Home Secretary, and comprises of secretary level officers from the ministries and departments having control of agriculture, finance, atomic energy, defense, okay, metallurgical, and mining. Okay. Next point, the National Executive Council will coordinate in the event of any threatening disaster, situation or disaster where central assistance is needed. Okay. So whenever any disaster, okay, which required the help of central government, in that condition, this council will respond. Okay. The next is NPDRR, National Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction. Now, so this is what NPDRR is basically. It is a platform. Okay. Now, so NPDRR, it is a National Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction. Okay. So it is a platform where the government, agencies, departments, okay, stakeholders, okay. This is a platform which provides opportunity for all to discuss on the matters related to disaster management. So it is basically a platform where discussion, deliberation takes place. Okay. So write down. Disaster it is a multi-stakeholder. First point, it is a multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral decision making body on disaster management. Next point. It is chaired by Union Home Minister. This is very important line. It is chaired by Union Home Minister. Okay, functions of NPDRR. Number 1, to review the progress made in the field of disaster management from time to time. Okay, because it is a platform where discussion, deliberation takes place. It is chaired by whom? Union Home Minister. Second point, to appraise the extent and manner in which the disaster management policy has been implemented by the central and state government, comma, and other concerned agencies, comma, and to give appropriate advice in the matter of disaster management. Next point, to review the disaster management policy. Okay, to review the disaster management policy. So this is what the function of NPDAR. It is a platform where government organizations, departments, ministries, and all those who are associated with disaster management, okay, meet, okay, and it review the policies, it review the program we implemented, okay, or whatever progress we will made in the made in the field of disaster management, all are reviews, okay, review of the policy, program, guidelines, everything is discussed, deliberated in this platform. It is chaired by the Union Home Minister. Okay, next is authority, National Disaster Management Authority. Now, National Disaster Management Authority, first of all, it is a statutory body. It is a statutory body. What is the meaning of this? Okay, now look, in India, don't write, in India there are three types of body. Number one is constitutional body. Constitutional body. the body which are mentioned in constitution. For example, uh, election commission, UPSC, okay, state PCS body, okay, all are constitutional body. Second is statutory body. Statutory body means the body which is created by act. Okay. For example, SEBI, RBI. RBI is statutory body by RBI Act 1934. And the third is extra constitutional body. Extra constitutional body. Okay. Now, extra constitutional bodies are those bodies which are not mentioned in constitution, which are not created by any act, but the Constitution of India impart the government to create such body on the advice of cabinet. For example, yes, Niti Aayog is the example of extra constitutional body. Okay. So statutory body, it is a statutory body means Parliament has passed act for that. For NPDAR, for other institution, there is no any act associated with them. Got it? So it is, so write down first point, it is a statutory body. Second point, it is the apex body for, it is the, remember one thing, there is no non-constitutional body in India. So don't write about non-constitutional. Your book is mentioned in Lakshmikant, they have written non-constitutional body. But in reality, in India, there is no non-constitutional body. Okay. So it is the apex body for disaster management. Which has the responsibility for which has the responsibility for laying down LAYING, laying down the policies, plans and guidelines for disaster management. Okay. Next point. NDMA is constituted on 27 September 2006, comma, in accordance with Disaster Management Act 2005. Okay. With Prime Minister as chairperson, and 9 other members. And one such member to be designated as vice chairperson. Okay. Next point. The guidelines of NDMA assist the central ministries departments and states to formulate their respective disaster management plans. Respective disaster management plans. Okay, now function and responsibility of NDMA. Functions and responsibility of NDMA. Now, so number one, it approves the national disaster management plans and plans of the central ministries and departments. And plans of the central ministry and ministries and departments. Okay. Now, look. We all know NDRF. What is NDRF? Okay. This force is supervised by whom? By NDMA, according to NDMA. So this NDRF is under NDMA. So write down the general superintendents, comma direction, comma and control of NDRF are vested in and are exercised by NDMA. Okay. Now, we all know what is NIDM, National Institute of Disaster Management. Okay. This is also work according to the direction given by NDMA. Okay. So write down the National Institute of Disaster Management. The National Institute of Disaster Management works within the framework of broad policies and guidelines laid down by whom? NDMA. Okay. Now look, now there is an emergency and there is a need to procure goods from other countries. Okay. Suppose there is an disaster took place in India and we have scarcity of certain goods. Okay. So who will permit? This NDMA. Okay. So write down NDMA has the power to authorize the departments or authorities to make emergency procurement of materials for rescue and relief in a threatening disaster situation. Disaster situation or disaster. Okay, next point. Okay. Approve plans prepared by ministries or department of the central government in accordance with national plan. And last point, lay down guidelines to be followed. Lay down guidelines to be followed by state authorities in drawing up state disaster management plan. Lay down guidelines to be followed by state authorities in drawing up their state disaster management plans. Okay, so these are the function of NDMA. Now second is NIDM. Next is NIDM. Okay, so which organization was the mother organization of NIDM? Mother organization of NIDM in 1995. Yes, NC. Yes, National Center for Disaster Management. This was created after the declaration of UN General Assembly. Okay, UN General Assembly declared the decade of 1990 as a international decade for natural disaster risk reduction. यही था ना, IDNDR, ID. हाँ ठीक तो है. हाँ, so international decade for natural disaster risk reduction. So 1990s decade was declared by UN General Assembly. Okay, and after this declaration we also started creating what? The institution to manage disaster. And firstly we created disaster management cell, and in 1995 we created NIDM to provide necessary training to the officials who are who was responsible for management of disaster. Now this was changed into NCDM when NDMA, when that Disaster Management Act was passed by Parliament. Sorry, this NCDM. Okay, so this was changed into NIDM by National Disaster NDMA. Disaster Management Act 2005. Okay, and what is this institution is engaged in training not only the top officials of IAS are like that, they also provide technical support to the state services. Okay, suppose someone is clearing state PCS examination. Okay, so they provide technical support. They publish documents, paper, books. Okay, they have all the documents, all history of disaster management in India, publishing of books. Okay, all these work are done by this institute. Okay, so write down disaster management. It was constituted under the Act of Parliament it was constituted under an Act of Parliament with a vision to play the role of premier institute for capacity development in India and Indo-Pacific region. Okay, now next point. In 1995, the government of India constituted National Center for Disaster Management. Okay, this institution was redesignated as NIDM by Disaster Management Act 2005. Okay, now next point. So the main, look, it is an institute and we all know what is the main function of institution. Capacity building. And how capacity building takes place? By imparting training as well as through writing books, okay, events, work which the other part of the world has done to manage disaster. So it is not only imparting training but also publishing books. Okay, so write down. Next point. Under Disaster Management Act 2005, under Disaster Management Act 2005, NIDM has been assigned NIDM has been assigned nodal responsibilities for nodal means central. Okay, nodal responsibilities for human resource development, capacity building, training, research, documentation, and policy advocacy in the field of disaster management. Okay, next point. It provides technical support to the state government through disaster management centers. Disaster management centers in the administrative training institutes of the state and union territories. And the last is NDRF. Okay, the last is National Disaster Response Force. NDRF, National Disaster Response Force. Okay, now write down. So look, India is the only country which has dedicated NDRF. It was created in 2006. Okay, in which year? 2006. And its headquarters is in, it is controlled by NDMA. Okay, so write down. Raised in 2006, raised in 2006. Full stop. Next point. It is the only dedicated disaster response force. It is the only dedicated disaster response force in the world. Next point. Headquarter Delhi, New Delhi. Next point. Works under NDMA. Works under NDMA. Now, write down. At present, NDRF consists of 12 battalions. 12 battalions, 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 comma, 3 each from BSF and CRPF, and 2 each from CISF, ITBP and SSB. SSB means Seema Suraksha Bal. Okay. ITBP means Indian Tibet Border Force. 1962 was the year when it was created. Okay. Now, next point. Each battalion has 18 self-contained specialist search and rescue team of 45 personnel, each including engineers, technicians, electricians, dog squads, and medical officers. Full stop. At present, each battalion consists of 1149 personnel. Okay. So this is what the institutions which we have created at national level. Okay. The first is Disaster Management Division. It is under Ministry of Home Affairs. Second is Executive Council. Okay. Third is NPDRR. We have written what is NPDRR is. It is presided by whom? The Home Minister. And what is the main function of NPDRR? It provides platform for discussion, deliberation on different policies related to disaster management. Okay. It also provide a lot of outputs. Okay. Whenever a government is going to formulate any policy regarding disaster management, the discussion which took place on the platform of NPDRR. Okay, that is keep in consideration. Next is we have discussed about NDMA, which is the apex body. It is a statutory body. Okay, Prime Minister is the head. Okay, and it is the NDMA is responsible behind the formulation of policies, guidelines. Okay, and the policies and guidelines which are formed by this NDMA is bound on central and state government. Okay, regarding the formation of policy. Okay, and NDMA controls two institutions, NIDM and NDRF. Apart from that, it also empower the departments or ministries to purchase the goods which are required during the time of emergency if we have no option only to purchase from outside. So these all are. So it is also the department which act as a financial, which it also has a financial power, because how much money will go to the disaster will be given to the states during the time of disaster, that is also determined by this department. Okay, NIDM is responsible behind capacity building, okay, training, okay, documentation, etc. And NDRF, it is the army of disaster management. It is an army without weapon. Okay, and during the time of disaster, when the situation is out of control, in that case, if it is not managed, even this NDRF is also, whenever any disaster took place in different part of the world, we sent this NDRF for rescue and other activities which are needed for that area. Okay, so these are the institutions we have created at national level. Now at a state level, it is similar almost. Okay, it is similar. There is SDMA, which is headed by the chief minister of that state. Okay, state is responsible, state is empowered by Disaster Management Act to formulate their own policies, but while formulating the policies, they have to keep in mind the guidelines provided by NDMA. This is the basic thing. Okay, so write down institutional framework at a state level. Institutional framework at state level. At state level. So write down the first point. The Disaster Management Act 2005 mandates the setting of a state disaster management authority, SDMA, state disaster management authority, with the chief minister as the ex officio chairperson. Ex officio, what is the meaning of ex officio? Ex officio means by virtue of post. By virtue of post. Who will be the chief minister? will automatically, for example, president is ex officio chairman, vice president is ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. So those who will elected as a vice president automatically will be the chairman of Rajya Sabha. Okay, that's why vice president is not a part of parliament. No, he has a power to recite meetings. He is recite that voting right is also during when there is tie in voting, but there is Article 108 joint sitting. Okay, joint sitting. Okay, so whenever on which bill, only ordinary bill. So whenever any joint sitting held, joint sitting will be presided by a Speaker of Lok Sabha. In the absence of Speaker of Lok Sabha, Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. In absence of Deputy Speaker, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, not Chairman of Rajya Sabha, because Vice President is not a part of Parliament. So he or she is not a part of Parliament. That's why he is not entitled to. Yes, because law is made by Parliament, and since he is not a part of Parliament, that's why he is not authorized to. Yes, but यही एग्जाम में अगर क्वेश्चन पूछ दे तो क्लास में क्या होगा? बहुत सारे बच्चे गलती कर देते। हाँ, अगर ये ना हो, एग्जाम प्रेशर इज डिफरेंट, बट इफ यू गो थ्रू थॉरली, 3 subject is more than sufficient to pass the preliminary examination. Preliminary examination is the toughest examination, but what is the easiest part of this examination? Preliminary examination is the toughest examination because you have to crack this. But what is the easiest part? No. Easiest part is only 45% is the passing mark. This is the easiest part. It is a very deep, what I have said, it is the toughest part because that provide that preliminary examination opened the gate for mains. But that part is toughest, and the most easiest part of this preliminary is very less is required to enter. And only 3 or 4 subject is sufficient to pass this examination. Polity, every year 15 to 18, sometime 20 question, except 2016, sorry, where number of question was only 6. Otherwise, and it is not a science, but the questions from polity is either you will know or don't know. There will be no any interpretation involved. No interpretation is involved. So generally, out of 16 question or 18 question, generally those who are honestly prepared for this, they do 100%. Second is economy, 25 to 30 question. Third is geography environment, 25 to 30 question, 20 question, including current affairs. These 3 paper is sufficient. If you go through that, nobody will stop you. Okay, including current affairs. Now the number of questions in science and technology is also increasing in preliminary examination. And the notes of science and technology will be only 2 or 3 pages. If you go through the entire year current affairs of science and technology, you will prepare notes only in 5 pages. And they will ask question from that. Okay, so so what we have written, Chief Minister as a ex officio chairperson. Full stop. Continuation. Similar system will function in each. Similar function in continuation. Similar system will function in each union territory with Lieutenant Governor as the chairperson. Chairperson. Okay. Now the function of SDMA. Functions of what? SDMA. Okay. So write down. It lays down policies and plans for disaster management in the state. Next point. It approves the state disaster management plan. It approves the state disaster management plan in accordance with the guidelines laid down by the NDMA. Next point. It coordinates the implementation of the state disaster management plan and recommends provision of funds for mitigation and preparedness measures. Okay. Next point. It reviews the development plans of the different departments of the state to ensure the integration of prevention, preparedness and mitigation measures. Okay. Next point. Apart from SDMA, the state government constitute a state executive committee comma, headed by the chief secretary to assist SDMA in the performance of its functions. Okay, so these are the two institutions at state level. Okay, SDMA, and the second is the State Executive Council. Committee. Now, the third is at district level. District level, there is authority called DDMA, and who is head of DDMA? District magistrate of particular district. Okay, so write down. At the district level, comma, district disaster management authority. At the district level, comma, district disaster management authority, comma, headed by district collector or district magistrate. District collector or district magistrate is responsible for overall coordination of the disaster management efforts and planning. Okay. Efforts and planning. Next point. The elected representative of the local authority work as the co-chairperson. Next point. The state government appoints an officer not below the rank of additional collector or additional district magistrate of the district to be the chief executive officer Chief Executive Officer of DDMA. DDMA. Okay. Now last point. The DDMA prepares the disaster management plan. Disaster management plan for districts and monitors its implementation. And the last point, it also ensures that the guidelines laid down by the NDMA and SDMA are followed by all the district level officers. Okay. So this is the history of disaster management in India. Okay. So from where we have started, the disaster management in India has evolved from the activity-based reactive setup. Okay, activity-based reactive setup to proactive institutionalized setup. Okay, and from relief centering approach to multidimensional risk reduction approach. Okay, from activity based reactive setup to institutionalized proactive institutionalized setup, and from relief centric approach to risk reduction approach. Okay, and we have discussed. Okay, and when we study about the history of disaster management in India, okay, we found there are two segments. One segment is associated with the pre-independence disaster management. What we have seen during the pre-independence phase, or during the pre-independence disaster management, the disaster management was centered around relief approach. Okay, relief approach. This is relief approach is called contraction, not called. There is crisis management. Okay, crisis management. But they also, the Britishers also involved in creating institutions, appointing, creation of institution, formulation of codes, and also they created post like famine commissioner. Till 1990, our approach was almost similar. It was only when the UN General Assembly declared 1990 decade as International Decade for Natural Disaster Risk Reduction, we decided to create institution, and finally we created what? The disaster management cell. Okay, cell. And in 1995, NCDM was created to establish to training and capacity building, documentation, etc. Okay. The decade of 1990 was also worst for India because we witnessed large number of disasters that compelled the government to take firm action, to take the action to for the risk management, and the government appointed a committee under J.C. Pant in 1999. That committee recommended, there must be, because 85% of India is vulnerable to different type of disaster, so there is a need of separate department. Okay, but the proposal made by the committee was not accepted. But what happened in 2000, January 2000, we witnessed that the western part of India, especially the Gujarat, was devastated by earthquake. Okay, and all national party committee was set up under Prime Minister, and that committee recommended, okay, to create NDMA, and also recommended that the work of disaster management should be transferred to Ministry of Home Affairs. Why this happened? Why Ministry of Home Affairs? Look, India, major part of India, look, this is what? Here is Pakistan. This region here is tectonically very unstable part, Gujarat. Okay? And this is Jammu and Kashmir. Flood as well as earthquake, landslide. Here is China. This part is China, Myanmar. This part is Bangladesh. Okay? So larger part and the major area of disaster in India is the boundary of the states which are prone to disaster are shared with what? Yes, neighboring countries, and especially the enemies countries of India in terms of whatever we have seen in the past. So there was a need of internal what? Because these disasters provide opportunity for the opponents to take advantage of that. Because during the time of crisis, the country is involved in rehabilitation. Okay, rescue, rehabilitation. That is the time when opportunity is available for whom? Those who want to break this country. So that's why involvement of Home Ministry was required, because Home Ministry has all the inputs. Okay, RAW is working under Home Ministry, and all the department which are surveillance department, which are okay, surveillance and other department, all are answerable to whom? Home Ministry. That's why Home Ministry was okay given. And in June 2002, we transferred the work of disaster management from Agriculture Ministry to Home Ministry. Okay, but there was no any act for that. There was no any law to empower the disaster management in India. And we witnessed in 2004, we were devastated by the tsunami. And after that, the government of India decided to make laws, okay, to strengthen the work of disaster management. And finally, Disaster Management Act was passed. And this act created institution at central level and state level and district level, and also empowers the local bodies कि उसको fund कहाँ से आएगा. Okay. At national level, we have seen Disaster Management Division, Central Executive Council, NDP, Disaster Management, there was a platform. What was the name? NDPRR. National Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, NPDRR, okay, NIDM, NDRF, and there is also NDMA. At a state level, there is a SDMA, and there is also a State Executive Committee, which is headed by whom? The Chief Secretary of the state. At district level, there is District Collector, who is the head, but He is also assisted by the local representative. Okay, and additional magistrate is also act as a vice chairperson. Okay, so this is what the framework. This is the framework, and these all frameworks are constituted under Disaster Management Act 2005, and the purpose was to reduce disaster. We can't stop this. We can't eliminate the hazard. We can only reduce the damages, loss of life and property, environment, etc. Okay, so we are involved in that. So these institutions work for that. Okay, I hope this is very easy. Now, the next is disaster management cycle. Okay, disaster management cycle. Okay, disaster management cycle. Now look here. So disaster management cycle has two parts. Okay, two part is what? Risk management. Okay, and the second is crisis management. Risk management, this part is basically the part in which we focused on capacity building. We focused on strengthening our transport and communication system. Mitigation strategies are all the part of, preparedness is all the part of risk management. Okay, and the crisis management is what? Assessment, rescue, rehabilitation, reconstruction, etc. Okay, so write down. Disaster management is a collective term. Disaster management is a collective term which involves collaborative efforts among governments, collaborative efforts among governments, organization, communities, and individual. Communities and individuals. Why we involve communities, individuals, organization? Why? And what is in the disaster management definition? I have written one line. To prepare. First was what? Prepare for, respond to. So prepare for plan, respond accordingly. Okay. So individuals to prepare for, respond to, and recover from. Disasters. Okay, disasters, minimizing their impact. Now look, in every definition we are adding some points. We are adding. In the first disaster management definition we have written, it is prepare for and respond to. Now again, when we enter in this cycle, okay, now when the Disaster Management Act, how this Disaster Management Act 2005 defined that disaster management, in that there is a, we have written about the points कि हमको क्या करना है, minimize भी करना और ये सब भी करना. Okay, now paragraph change. Disaster management activities follow a cyclic pattern. Cyclic pattern known as disaster management cycle. Management cycle which indicates the various phases involved in effectively managing disaster. Actively managing disaster. Okay, now, so look, the first phase is what? It is the phase of, first phase is pre-disaster. The second phase is what? During disaster. And the third phase is what? After disaster. Post-disaster. And these all three phases form a cycle. Okay? So this is what pre-disaster activities are, basically risk management. Okay? Risk management. This is during the time of a strike of disaster, and this is post, okay, crisis management. So write down first. The cycle, the disaster management cycle, is composed of three phases. Composed of क्या है? Three phases. Number one is pre-disaster. Okay, pre-disaster phase. This phase is the phase of risk reduction. Phase of risk reduction and includes number one, mitigation, in bracket, risk assessment prevention. Okay, mitigation. Now, under mitigation, we primarily focused on focuses on number 1, hazard mapping. Number 2, hazard and vulnerability assessment. Hazard and vulnerability assessment. Okay, and last, structure and structure of the mapping area. Structure means what? The buildings, or because people die not due to earthquake, they die due to collapse of buildings. So structure. We will discuss in detail when we will also discuss mitigation strategy differently. But here I am discussing only mapping and every, because the first thing is whenever we start the management of disaster, the first thing what we have to do, we have to map the area to know about the geology of that area. Then we have to, assessment is made ki how, what is the economic condition, what is the structural condition of that area, which group is vulnerable, which area is particularly vulnerable, more vulnerable. If all area is vulnerable, which area is the most vulnerable area? So that is done during the time of mapping, assessment. Okay. Now, second is under pre-disaster. Second is risk. First is pre-disaster, and first in pre-disaster there is mitigation. Second is preparedness. 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 Okay. It includes contingency planning, second, warning and evacuation. Warning and evacuation plans. And third is consolidation of preparation for next disaster. So the first is was contingency plan. Okay. Second is what? The warning and evacuation plan. So under warning and evacuation plan, what we do? We strengthen our warning system, early warning. I will discuss which ministry is determined, which ministry is responsible for which disaster, and which department, okay, is responsible for dissemination of information. Now, so these two are mitigation strategies and preparedness. This is the part of pre-disaster. Now, training also, training, capacity building all comes under. Okay, so write down preparedness में क्या क्या आएगा? Training, capacity building. Okay, training, capacity building. Okay, all comes under this stage, preparedness stage. Now, next is what? Now this is the first stage. Okay, risk management. Now, the second stage is during disaster. during disaster stage, when disaster strikes, the cycle of disaster management is comprising of 3 stages. The first stage is what? Risk pre-disaster phase or a stage which is totally क्या है हमारा risk reduction phase. It includes 2 things. Number 1 is mitigation and the second is preparedness. How will prepare? Training, mock drill, etc. Accumulation of the things which are required during the time of imparting training, forming that organization, youth organization for particular, giving training to them, okay, provide fund to them. Everything is preparedness. Dissemination of information, development of that structure, okay, all comes under the first phase. Now second phase is during the time of emergency, during the time of strike of disaster. Second phase. So what we do in this phase? Number 1, during disaster, what we do during disaster? First is this phase. This phase includes number 1, individual disaster response. Individual. Now, next is immediate intervention. Immediate intervention. Okay. Now, in this immediate intervention, okay, under this line, under immediate intervention, ठीक है ना? Immediate intervention includes search and rescue. Number 1, search and rescue. Second, security, because this is also provide opportunity for the neighboring areas. For example, bus accident, nearby people comes to take the things from, some people come to rescue the people, but some people also come to take advantage of that. होता है ना? When I was studying, at that time there was a truck loaded with chocolate. तो उसमें क्या हुआ? That turned down, सारा निकल गया उसका, तो सब लोग ले लेके घर चले जा रहे थे. So this happens. So first is includes search and rescue, security of the affected area. Second, security of the affected area from unsocial elements. Unsocial होता है ना? अनसोशल होता है, क्या होता है? तो हिंदी में थोड़ी बोल रहे हैं, अनसोशल ही तो होता है ना? एंटी सोशल, सॉरी, वही में कुछ तो गड़बड़ था इसलिए. एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट्स. Anti, not there is no unsocial word. Anti is social. Next is providing food and water to the affected area. Food, water and shelter. Okay. Medical and transportation system. medical and transportation system, especially trauma center. Trauma center. Trauma centers. Okay. Now, this is the shortest phase, and require this phase is completed, must be completed in a very short period of time. Okay. So this phase required the shortest time. Now, every work of this phase should be completed in shortest, जितना कम समय में कर सके. Okay. So the second phase of the cycle should be done in shorter period of time. Okay. Because rescue and everything, because if you will not provide that, first of all, people died due to collapse of building, etc. And large number of people die because of contamination, contaminated water, food, etc. So this is also, large number of people die because of trauma. Okay, because near and dear lost their lives. So this is, so this phase must be completed in a short duration of time. Now next is post duration. Post. It includes number 1, rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. Okay. Rehabilitation means restoration of basic services. Means restoration of basic services and functions within weeks to month. Within weeks to month. Okay. And the next is reconstruction. The first is rehabilitation and the second is reconstruction. Okay. Reconstruction includes full resumption of services plus preventive measures. Okay. Now, under this reconstruction phase, we followed the strategy of BBB. We follow the strategy of BBB, build back better, and the duration should be months to years. And the duration should be months to year. Okay. And one policy is followed. And the policy is, which is the policy followed in this stage? Without look, what is the meaning of this? Means no. So this policy, because people are emotionally attached with their areas, na? So reconstruction without relocation, if not necessary. If not necessary, then this strategy should be followed. Okay. relocation without no, reconstruction without relocation if not necessary. So write down. Now, during reconstruction, we follow the strategy of reconstruction without relocation. Generally, this is the policy we followed because the people are emotionally attached with their. So, if you want to recover the losses as soon as possible, okay? इसलिए मालूम है सबसे पहले क्या किया जाता है? The first thing is done is to open the schools for children. Why? To engage them. That is called psychological rehabilitation. The first thing which is done during the time of disaster. Because children, they are very much affected by psychological impact is very harsh. The second thing is engagement of the people in activities. कि आप उनको क्या करो? Engage करो जितना जल्दी हो सके. Or engage in productivity, not in unproductive work. So this is the general practice. This is the general thing we all follow. Okay? Before pre-disaster, during the disaster, this is the fastest. Means during the disaster, the longest phase is what? The pre-disaster phase, because that continues for. We all know we have to. Reconstruction is done in months to a year. But pre-phase is continue for 2, 3, 5, 7 till not another disaster is not takes place. So the longest phase is that. So this is the cycle of. And when we'll discuss all the points, so whenever you will get this question, you have to put everything, because I will discuss about mitigation separately. I will discuss about preparation is. Okay, because UPSC has asked question on preparedness, mitigation separately, so we will discuss. So whenever you will get questions on that cycle of disaster management, we have written only in shorts. कितना लिखे हैं? Not real, वो वाला shorts नहीं, which we watch. ठीक है ना? ये वाला shorts. But ठीक है? Now. Okay, एक write down small topic. Disaster resilience. Disaster management we have discussed. Now, disaster resilience. We will discuss disaster management, history of disaster management. We have discussed about the cycle of disaster management. Okay, and now disaster resilience. Resilience means what? Capacity building. Okay, to fight with. So write down. It refers to our capacity. It refers to our capacity to prevent. Now those watching online, is it clear or not? Refers to our capacity to prevent, comma, withstand, okay, and recover. When this happens, suppose we fall down from cycle, what we do? Okay, we try to prevent ourselves. If fall down, we comes out, देखते इधर कोई देख तो नहीं रहा है, then withstand and recover from the adverse impact. Impact of natural hazards on individuals, comma, communities and natural environment. Full stop. It is not an innate quality. Innate means INNATE. Innate quality means the quality we have got from birth. Okay, innate quality. The qualities we are, the innate quality means the quality we have got from our ancestors. No, we take training for that. Okay, innate quality, but can be cultivated through knowledge, comma, understanding and practice. Okay, according to the HUGO, HYOGO, HUGO framework for action, in bracket UNISDR 2006. What is the full form of UNISDR? We have written while defining the disaster. घूम रहा है यहाँ, इतना मोटा है, ठीक है, bracket close. Disaster resilience is determined by the ability of individuals, communities and organizations to organize themselves comma, learn from the past disasters, and mitigate risk for future ones, comma, across international comma regional, comma national and local levels. ठीक है, पैराग्राफ चेंज. इसी को क्या कहते हैं? बाउंस बैक. द कंसेप्ट ऑफ बाउंस बैक, कॉमा स्प्रिंग फॉरवर्ड and build back better. Spring forward, the concept of bounce back. Bounce back मतलब फिर से खड़ा हो गए, गिरे थे और क्या हो गया? बाउंस बैक, कॉमा स्प्रिंग फॉरवर्ड, जंप कर गया. स्प्रिंग फॉरवर्ड, स्प्रिंग का फॉरवर्ड का मतलब होता है कूदना भी होता है. स्प्रिंग फॉरवर्ड. ओके, ब्रैकेट में आप स्प्रिंग की जगह स्प्रिंट लिख लेना. सॉरी, स्प्रिंट फॉरवर्ड, आगे बढ़ना. स्प्रिंट फॉरवर्ड, स्प्रिंट, SPRINT, स्प्रिंट फॉरवर्ड एंड बिल्ड बैक बेटर. स्प्रिंट फॉरवर्ड, स्प्रिंट का मतलब तेजी से आगे बढ़ना, जो हो गया तो खत्म हो गया. ठीक है. एंड बिल्ड बैक बेटर आर कॉमनली एसोसिएटेड विथ. ओके, एसोसिएटेड विथ रेजिलियंस. Resilience, comma, emphasizing the ability to recover, comma, adapt and improve after disaster. Okay, paragraph change. Resilience encompasses the capacity and coping capacities. Capacity and what is capacity and what is coping capacity? Yesterday we have discussed. What is capacity? Everything, our strength, material which available, technology available. And what is coping capacity? It is the ability to use the resource. Simple. If you have ability but not resource, then you will be pushed down by the disaster. You have resource but no ability, you will be again pushed by the disaster. So resilience always contain two things, capacity and capacity building. Okay, sorry, coping capacity. ठीक है. So right here capacity refers to, फिर से लिखा दे रहा हूं, capacity refers to, it includes two words na, capacity and coping capacity. Okay, capacity refers to what? To the strength and resources. क्यों चाहिए strength and resources available to, resource क्यों चाहिए? Why we need a resource? Available to anticipate, available to anticipate, comma, cope with and recover from disaster. and coping capacity denotes the ability to use resources and to face and mitigate disasters effectively. I hope this is clear. So resilience means a strength we develop. How we develop our strength? With the help of, yes, training, resources, okay, build back better, okay, and the coping capacity and capacity we have discussed in the last class also. We have also written this. Okay. Thank you. Getting things or not? समझ में आ रहा है? नहीं भी आ रहा तो भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा.